Can you hold this, please?
Up next, we have a speaker.
I'm live.
American citizen that lives in New Zealand. Part of the African American community. Up next, I'd like to introduce Katie Simone.
Can everyone hear me? Or am I loud enough? All right. So they came up. They asked me to come up and talk to you guys today because I'm from the United States. I've been living here for about 5 years now, and they asked me to come up here and talk about my feelings, which I was kind of prepared to do until I saw how many of you there are out here today. And I'm just really blown away, and you know, I was planning to say that thank you to all of you and that I was really grateful that you were here, but I just want to start off by acknowledging that this is really amazing. I see so many beautiful black people, and I just want to say that, like, I see y'all. I really do. I feel like as a black person here, it is hard to feel like you belong to a really big community, and what I see in front of me is a huge community, and a community of people who are standing in solidarity with us and who have come out and taken time out of their days and out of their lives to come out and make a stand and show that they support not only the black people in the United States who are fighting against police violence, but the people who live right here amongst them. And the fact that we can all stand out here together and for this particular purpose is just really amazing to me. So thank you. Thank each and every one of you for coming out here today. I did want to talk a little bit about solidarity and what solidarity means, because I feel like it's this energy that I'm feeling here today is just so powerful and so beautiful, and I want people to feel like they can carry it forward into their day-to-day lives when they leave here today. But it's hard to know how to do that, I think, for a lot of us. I think that the first thing you can do as a person who's living here is to educate yourselves about, I mean, obviously you are people who educate yourselves, but to continue doing that and to pay attention to what the police are doing in your communities and in the communities near you, because it's actually not all cool. Like, I think a lot of people fall into the trap of thinking that because it's not as bad as it is in the United States, because it doesn't look like it does over there, because the police aren't carrying guns everywhere they go yet, that it's not an issue that deserves a lot of attention here, but it is going to become one. It's becoming one very fast. And so I really encourage you to listen to the people who are being affected by what the police are doing. Listen to the people that are organizing around these issues. And listen to black and brown people, and listen to Māori, and trust people when they tell you what they're experiencing at the hands of the police. Because oftentimes these stories sound so crazy. Like, if someone had just told you what happened to George Floyd, it would be really hard to believe, right? And it feels hard to believe every single time, but you have to believe people, and you have to get behind people who are pushing this thing forward. And I believe that all of you can do that. I see so much power here in front of me, and each of you really have to believe that you have the power to do what needs to be done. Like, really, really sit with yourself and know that you do have power. That's all I'm going to say to y'all. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoy yourselves. A huge part of protesting is having fun. I hope some people brought speakers, play music, sing, chant, and just, stay with what you've heard about the mission today. But have fun, get to know each other, show out, because y'all have already shown out. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Can we give us some support with no justice? No justice!
No peace! No justice! No peace!
Check 1, 2. All right. Guys, up next, I'm going to have my sister, Mahaleda, come up here and speak. This is for people who are like me, right? I'm a member of the African community here in New Zealand. However, I stayed silent for way too long, right? I made it not my problem for way too long, okay? Which is why this weekend we couldn't do that anymore. But my sister here, she's been advocating, arguing with me, and fighting, and literally defending this cause for years. Okay, some people, this is a life mission, not just a weekend out of a stroll with 3,000 people. Okay, so I want everybody here to make some noise for some of the most powerful people behind this cause. Lulu.
No, I just want to say something first. We have many different identities represented here. We've got people from our trans and queer communities. We might have some disabled folks out here. Just make sure that we're making it safe for them, because it can be hard to navigate these cis-het, able-bodied spaces. So just make sure it's a safe, welcoming space for everyone. I just want to leave it at that. Sorry, my notes are not loading. Kia ora. I'd like to start off by extending gratitude. First and foremost, I'd like to say thank you to Ngāti Whātua, the mana whenua, for blessing us to go ahead with this protest. We acknowledge and honour you. Next, I'd like to say thank you to Te Ao Pritchard and Hayley Koroi for lending their knowledge and time, giving us advice and being willing to put in the work where necessary. I'd like to thank the group of volunteers who put their hands up to be marshals. You did it even though you didn't have to. Thank you. I'd like to thank all of the people that flooded our messages offering support and help, seeing where they could fit in best and serve. Your willingness to help is noted and appreciated. I'd like to thank Khadija and Favour, members of the Leadership Committee for Rangatahi Against Racism, for reaching out and helping out where they could. Y'all probably couldn't hear us if they didn't sort out this whole speech. And I'd like to thank you all for coming out today. It might not be suitable conditions, it might start to rain, but your stand here in solidarity with us means the world. Thank you for showing up and showing out. I'd like to now observe a minute of silence in memory of George Floyd. Please join me. May you rest in peace. What we're seeing now is yet another case of state-sanctioned murder of a black man. We're seeing another iteration of the same culture and pattern that has pervaded the United States since its very beginning. A nation founded on colonialism, built up by the slave labor of black people and sustained by a system of capitalism and imperialism. A nation that continues to systematically exploit, marginalize, and oppress black people and Native Americans. We see a lot of people say the system is broken, but now it's actually working just as it was designed. It's a well-oiled machine.
Doing great.
Ruth Wilson Gilmore, an abolitionist and prison scholar, defines racism as this: the state-sanctioned or extra-legal production and exploitation of group differentiated vulnerability to premature death. State-sanctioned or extra-legal production and exploitation of group differentiated vulnerability to premature death. Racism looks like being stolen from your home, forced into a ship and brought to America to be enslaved. Racism looks like Jim Crow laws and segregation. Racism looks like sending off militaries to fight unjustified wars and affording white veterans certain privileges when they come back that black veterans are denied. Racism looks like driving poor and black people out their neighborhoods through a process of gentrification. Racism looks like pumping guns and drugs into the black community, then declaring a so-called war on drugs.
Yes.
Racism looks like tearing black communities apart and harshly sentencing black men and women for drug charges that white people get a slap on the wrist for. Racism looks like the issue of mass incarceration that predominantly affects black and brown communities, a prison system that is a relic of slavery. Racism looks like a 12-year-old black boy being shot and killed for holding a toy gun because the cop feared for his life. But hundreds of gun-wielding white people protesting a right to get their haircuts under lockdown get to go home to their families that night. Racism looks like white men being acquitted or never even indicted after unjustly killing a black person. Racism sounds like all lives matter. Racism looks like equating a black life with an insured building full of insured goods. Yeah, racism looks like all these things. But racism also looks like the New Zealand Herald Facebook comment section. Racism looks like refusing to confront our own demons here under the guise of being a tolerant, forward-thinking, progressive, liberal nation, to the point where a radicalized white supremacist terrorist completely flies under the radar and murders over 50 Muslims in cold blood. Racism looks like the reluctance to call that man what he is, a terrorist. Racism looks like neo-Nazi associations being able to form in our universities, posting their posters up, spreading their evil propaganda with little to no repercussion. Racism looks like Māori people having to occupy Ihimata for weeks on end and hearing the deafening silence and witnessing the inaction from our government and leaders. It looks like the lack of support our government leaders showed by refusing to stand in solidarity with those trying to protect Ihimata. Racism looks like the overrepresentation of Māori and Pacific Island people in our prisons. It looks like the poverty level and low education levels of our Māori and Pacific Island brothers and sisters. Racism looks like trialing an armed response team in South Auckland, an area with a significantly high Māori and Pacific Island population. The state-sanctioned or extra-legal production and exploitation of group-differentiated vulnerability to premature death.
Racism works both ways, son.
We as black people in the wider community of color are sick and tired of being sick and tired. It is exhausting to not only have to endure these things, but to then be alone in our fight for justice. If you benefit from and are privileged by being white, it is your time to speak. We can only do so much, but at the end of the day, it comes down to you. If you're asking, what can we do? Start small. Start with yourself. Check your privilege. Question why it is you feel personally attacked when an oppressed group expresses their pain as opposed to trying to understand them. Educate yourself. Read books by black authors on the topic of race. Watch documentaries. Listen to your black friends when they tell you their experiences and don't be quick to dismiss them. Have those uncomfortable conversations with those in your close circles. Call out racist comments as they happen, whether it's your friend or parent or other relative. Speak up where it counts. It's not on us to educate you about these things. We've been doing that for too damn long. We're tired and it's about time you put in the work. How many more of my people have to die before you guys decide to say enough is enough? How much more blood needs to be shed before you decide to make a change? How many more families need to lose a loved one and then relive that loss over and over again as the media cycles through these stories? How many more hashtags, if not now, when? To the media outlets that were scrambling to cover this event and be here today, I want you to take a long, hard look at yourself and truly ask, what are your intentions? It is offensive and insulting if your only intention of being here is to sensationalize the story as it's a hot topic trending this week, then go back to scapegoating immigrants in your story next week. Are you here because you care? Prove it.
Tell them.
Show us your integrity. The struggle for justice doesn't end once we finish up here today. What happens after George Floyd's murder cycles out of the news? What then? If you use your platforms to reinforce these implicit cultural norms that will eventually lead to the explicit death of another black person, another Māori person, a PI person, or another person of color, shame on you. Change starts with you. Jacinda Ardern and the New Zealand government. We urge you to publicly condemn what has happened and is continuing to happen in America. Further, we urge you to roll back the armed response team so that we do not endanger the lives of the most vulnerable here. New Zealand's a liberal, progressive country? Prove it. I hope we have shown you today that we are tired of not being seen and heard, so we will make ourselves seen and heard. We will hold you accountable. We will not cease in our fight for justice, our fight for what is right, our fight for black lives, for Māori and Pacific Island lives, our fight for the lives of all people of color that are hanging in the balance due to oppression under a global system of white supremacy. Our fight doesn't end here. There's so much to be done. If you're asking what you need to do,
Thank you.
there are many organizations in America, such as the Minnesota Freedom Fund, that work for causes as such. There is a personal GoFundMe for George Floyd. And then here in New Zealand, email haveyoursayapolice.govt.nz to let them know how you feel about those armed response teams.
Yeah!
And there's another rally happening on June 14. You can find all the details on Facebook. Show up then too. But today, as we march down to the office of the American Consulate General, let's keep in mind why we're here. To stand in solidarity with the black people of the United States. To declare that Black Lives Matter. To declare that when Black Lives Matter, then all lives matter. Let's make ourselves heard. Thank you.
But again, sorry to cut it down a bit, but just a reminder, guys, a little bit of spacing between each other will be